Aloha, everybody, and welcome. I'm Natalie. This is Scientology Life After a Cult, where we talk about Scientology news that has the internet buzzing. Also talk about my 35 years in this cult and leaving with multiple generations of my family. So when you hit the subscribe button, please set the notification bell to all as well, because I do other content throughout the week, and hopefully you get a notification when that happens. Today, we're going to jump into all kinds of Scientology news, including some pretty serious allegations about Braille Skateboarding, which is run by Aaron Kyro, Scientologist and leader of Scientology in San Francisco. There's so much blowback about the video he did the other day and the closing of Braille, and the connection and what's happening with the ties to Scientology is starting to get very, very interesting. We're going to look at a bunch of other protest news. There is, I know, at least new to me. I always say somebody is a new streamer or a protester, but sometimes they're just new to me and I love seeing them. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at that and a bunch of other stuff as well. If you have a question as we go along, put question in all caps and then maybe have it follow, and we can find it more quickly and cover as many of those as we possibly can. Also, I wanted to share with you guys that there is, I do not reach out to you in the comments on WhatsApp or any place trying to pretty much do anything related to some scam. So if you got one of those comments in the comments, we're working on getting rid of those. But no, that is not me. No, it is not. All right, now let's jump into, I saw this. Somebody sent me this yesterday. We're going to take a little look. I just thought this was such a great message about I just love it. You guys watch it and then we'll talk about it. Check it out.
People's perception of you dictate your behavior. You will never grow as a person. But if you leave yourself open to experience, despite what others think, then you will learn and grow.
I just love that. It really made me realize how much in Scientology you have to break free from that and that mind control and that mindset, but also letting go of the fear of what will Scientology think? What will Scientologists think if I speak out? What will Scientologists think because so much of what keeps you there with that mind control is that's the only group for many people that they have are fellow Scientologists. For some, their whole families are in Scientology. And that can be a really tough thing to do, is recognize that, how you decide to show up is how you decide to show up, and that you get to make your choices. And you get to do activities of your own choosing, as I like to say it. That's one of my biggest things I appreciate since leaving Scientology, since leaving the cult. It's just such a great message. And, today being, of course, 4th of July, it is Independence Day. We're here in the US, we celebrate. And that independence that the United States gained is so much just the correlation in ways what it's like in leaving Scientology and standing up for your independence. Whatever that is, whatever life looks like for you after a cult, after a high control group, it's just fascinating to me. And I know that's something I want to get into more. Maybe we'll do a separate video on it, is overcoming that mindset. I know other ex-Scientologists here have communicated about that was part of moving on from Scientology, was letting go and realizing that they had no power and it really didn't matter what they thought. And when you let go of that, it's very freeing, but it is not easy. And I'll be honest, I've been out of Scientology for 14 years. And the moment where I fully felt free from what they thought in terms of my actions as an ex-Scientologist, I think really pushed me through the finish line on it when I protested Scientology in Clearwater at the Flag Land Base. That was huge for me. And it just really resonated with me. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Also want to share with you that KELI Copter here on YouTube is celebrating 100 videos. She did an Ask Me Anything the other day. We're going to just take a look at a little clip, but you're going to want to watch the whole video.
It's different watching it. Like, I love watching true crime, right? I love watching true crime. But when you're actually delivering it, it's so different because it just hits you in a different way. I don't know, because you're kind of presenting the info. I don't know if that makes sense, but a documentary about a serial killer, I'm like, oh wow, that's so interesting and scary and sad. But when it's like, oh, this person who sat in front of me actually went through this thing, it just breaks my freaking heart. And I just find it very heavy. But I always think that the people I get to speak to are so amazing that I'm just glad to be someone who they can share their story with.
KELI has told and shared multiple stories on her channel, which is KELI Copter. You can find it here on YouTube. If you're not already subscribed to her, you may want to be. Her content is amazing. Her skill with putting these videos together is fantastic. And I love this Ask Me Anything that she did, because you really get kind of a peek behind the curtains, what it's like for her, as she was saying there. Some of these topics, it can be very difficult to share and talk about. And especially when, you see that person in front of you sharing their story. And I think KELI does such a great job of that. And I can't wait to see what she continues to put out and create. Another one that I enjoy watching is a Scientology rundown is Bianca. Don't know if you caught her video the other day, but Bianca sat down and is starting to share some Scientology basics. A lot of people, especially if you're new to my channel or you're new to any of the channels that cover Scientology here on YouTube, you kind of got to get up to speed on some of the Scientology basics. And it looks like Bianca did some of that with this video, and it's very enlightening, even as someone who was in Scientology for so long, like myself. There's so much of it, 35 years of experiences and memories. It doesn't all come flooding back at one time. And when I watch these other creators sharing these different points about Scientology, it really helps me recognize, wow, that's right. That was part of the programming. That was part of the mind control. But let's go ahead and take a look at Bianca's video.
As you might know already, is the spiritual counseling of Scientology, and training is where you learn how to do that auditing, pretty much. Scientologists, their goal is to move up the bridge to total freedom. It's basically a whole bunch of steps. You have to level up, and in the end, you're gonna be like a super thetan, a super spirit with superpowers, which sounds awesome, but I mean, doesn't actually happen. So
yeah, she's right. It doesn't actually happen. And if you think that's a joke or an over-exaggeration about the superpowers, it's really not. There are Scientologists, some of who do the upper levels in Scientology, and then decide that they can change traffic lights just by wanting them to change just a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm not even saying that that's impossible, right? It's mainly I'm saying it is not possible with Scientology. That is not the goal. It's really more about limiting those freedoms. It's the opposite. It's like when you start in Scientology at the lower level, there are some basic universal truths that are true outside of Scientology, like gravity. Gravity happens whether you believe in it or not. It's a thing. L. Ron Hubbard went and took information from different religions and groups and even psychology, and then kind of codified it as his own. So you'll get a few gems in the beginning that people find helpful. You go into Scientology, you tell them what your problem is. They're like, we can help you with that. Who doesn't want that, right? If you're struggling in life, whether it's a relationship situation, whether it's recovering from trauma from growing up, who wouldn't want a solution and relief to that? And that is what they prey on. And in the beginning, there might be a couple things that are kind of helpful, right? And then it becomes more expensive. Then it becomes, you should be here more. You should have friends who are Scientologists. Then your dentist is a Scientologist. And then maybe you joined Scientology staff. It just continues to limit your actual world and your sphere of influence, because you start pulling back from maybe groups that you belong to that had nothing to do with Scientology. Why? Because now you need that time for Scientology, because those are the demands being put on your time. So I think Bianca's doing a great job at sharing some of these Scientology basics. Go ahead and definitely check it out. I love seeing this next video, PTS for Life. Jeff over there did a video tackling the topic of mental health with men. And he's so right. That is not something that we speak about. And I know, we all speak about Scientology from our own experience and our own point of view on it. So when I talk about it, it's a lot to do with my experience in it, and that's me. And there aren't enough. Let me reword that. I think I would like to see more voices, and especially more male voices as well, really opening up about that mental health side of it. We have a few who do, but I think more can be lent to that. And Jeff over at PTS for Life, he's going to be going to school to be able to be someone who can actually help trauma victims in cult recovery. And he's going to talk a little bit about, he introduces a resource, but let's just take a look at a clip. Hold on.
tell my story and share this resource with you guys is because we all know somebody who is struggling with this. And men in particular, I have learned through a lot of study, are more likely to go through with the act of unaliving oneself. It is one of the leading causes of men. And
I think he meant death in men, but you know what he's saying.
I figure the more people that are actively talking about it, the more normalized it will be to talk about it. If you're a guy who is suffering, then please do reach out. You can call 988. You can reach out to a mental health professional. And this resource I'm going to share with you in a second here is amazing, not just for men who are struggling, but for people who are who maybe have someone in their life, a husband, a cousin, a brother.
I just love this. And it's such a needed topic of conversation and another way to even build more community. And, you know, it can be hard sometimes, not always, but for male or female to be able to discuss these things. But for whatever reason, women, I think we have an easier time being a bit more vulnerable and sharing that. So I love that Jeff over at PTS for Life is opening up the discussion and creating a safe space for everyone, for other people, for men to come forward and know that they're not alone in these experiences or in these emotions and the struggles that follow when you've been in a high control group like Scientology. Absolutely love that he's doing that. Let's go. Oh, you guys, talk about a rabbit hole. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, we were talking about Aaron Kyro, who's a Scientologist who runs Scientology in San Francisco, and he closed what's referred to as Braille House. Braille Skateboarding is his company that he's had for years. They are here on YouTube. They have a pretty big YouTube channel, and he shut it down like within 2 days. Aaron Kyro did a video saying that it was because he was negotiating with the landlord to make the rent less. That failed. The landlord kicked him out. They had 2 days to leave. So that community, there was a whole community of people that skated there and went there. And now a lot of them are starting to share the reactions to this on social media and here on YouTube. And we're really hearing, it's interesting to me to see from their point of view too, what happened, because we know what happened. Aaron Kyro joined Scientology staff in San Francisco. He was sent to Florida for training. They told him it would be 5 months, right? It was 2 years. It sounds like it was 2 years. And you're not able to run a company while you're there doing a training program. The schedule is very strict. They just don't allow for it. And so people have been coming out saying, you know, while he was gone, there was no communication. There wasn't that leadership. And let's take a look at one of these videos here. This is somebody who was impacted by that.
That can happen physically that can change your life forever. And that's what these guys did. This is what these skaters did. And for Aaron to say, well, we had to get done real quick. You can't make a phone call out of respect to all of these guys or a text, man, even a text, and be like, hey, tomorrow, last session, 3 o'clock. I hope you guys can make it. It's the last day. We have to tear down the house. That's it. It could be that fast. And then the next day you do what you need to do. He didn't do that. Didn't do that at all. He chose to think about himself and not the people that, man, they thank you to all the skaters.
Interesting. It's so interesting to me because here you have somebody who just did this whole training lineup, right? Huge Scientology indoctrination, which they claim gives a person the solutions to communication and also how to run a business. You could use that technology, they say, to run a business, the same policies by L. Ron Hubbard that Scientology uses to run Scientology organizations. Well, if that is so great, what is happening here? What is happening here is because of Scientology and his commitment to Scientology, his business fell by the wayside and he wasn't creating in that area. And now just shows up and shuts the whole thing down within 2 days. And there's strong reactions to it in the skateboarding community, including, we're going to take a look at another clip here, including where, let's see, I do believe this is it here. There's somebody else, Dan Webbs, here on YouTube. He shares some really interesting information. Let's watch this and then talk about it.
That Braille literally has been hiding predators and not pushing charges on them, not doing anything about that. And they've also very much been well known to not give a crap about their employees. They literally just cast people to the side, no goodbye videos. The only people they put out goodbye videos for were Lance and Gabe, like two of the top tier members that have been there the entire time. Obviously, Lance was a founding member, but he left to be a part of Scientology further, which we discovered in a previous deep dive video that we've done a few months ago now. But as you guys know, Braille is riddled with Scientology members. They're everywhere, dozens in the company. The whole company is pretty much run by Scientology, which is why most of the money goes into Scientology and doesn't keep the skate park afloat, doesn't pay their employees a fair wage, which, by the way, are the literal meat in the sandwich of this entire operation. So without the employees, Braille is nothing, because as soon as he gave up the reins to Scientology, things just went plummeting downhill. Anyway, let's continue with the rest of this video, see what Nigel has to say.
And this is another guy who was there, who was part of that community, and then he shares his thoughts.
Goodbye, but some people can, so. Wild.
They don't give a fuck about the people.
Absolutely insane. Crazy.
It's just shut down. They just, took everything down and apparently didn't notify their community. And part of the backlash is not having an opportunity to kind of have that closure and thanks or acknowledgement for building that community. And the interesting thing to me, the biggest part that grabs my interest, of course, is the Scientology connection. And what Dan Webbs just said in that video, I don't know more about it than what he just said there. But if anybody knows any added information about these allegations, let me know. Natalie at lifeafteroccult.com. That's the first I was hearing about it. And it always catches my ear because we know that the role Scientology plays often in covering up and protecting those perpetrators. So definitely going to be looking more into that. And the blowback, I think, is going to continue on Aaron Kyro, and his connection to Scientology is such a big part of that. They have this thriving community, all relative, thriving to a degree. I mean, he did create a large community, and now to kind of just have that gone, I get what they're saying. And the Scientology connection, though, really says it all for me. We got to know what's up then. Let's take a look now. Jenna Miscavige was over on Aaron's channel at Growing Up in Scientology, having a really interesting conversation. Parts of this, Jenna was talking about what it was like to protest Scientology during the days of Anonymous versus what that's like today. And some of you might not know, Jenna Miscavige has been on the scene speaking out against Scientology for longer than many of us who are here now. And, she's got her book, Beyond Belief, which is wonderful. I'm listening to it now on Audible. I read it years ago, but thought it's time for a refresh. And I just love what she has to say about it and the differences between the different evolutions of protesting and speaking out against Scientology. Social media has played such a huge role in that. Hugely. And one of the things that Aaron and Jenna were talking about was that big difference today with social media is ex-members of Scientology can see and hear and read that support. Whereas prior to protesting Scientology, before social media was really used and there were different channels like this here on YouTube, you kind of just weren't aware of how much support you had out there and you just went out there and you did it. But now that's different because so many of you never in Scientology, but all in on ending that cult have shown up and have picked up this cause and have gotten educated and the knowledge of what happens within Scientology, and you're helping to elevate those voices, but they can actually see it now and hear it now. It's just amazing, those differences. I found it fascinating. Let's take a look at a little clip.
One of my friends, she had left the Sea Org very right around the same time as me, and she was pregnant and her parents weren't talking to her. And so, we, and then another guy who I was at the ranch with. And so, yeah, we protested together that day with a bunch of people from Anonymous.
How many people would you literally say? How many people would you guess were there?
Gosh, I mean, I'm horrible at this, but I want to say it was a lot of people. There was a lot of people honking. I want to say like at least 100, maybe 200. Yeah, it was like
that
a
many.
whole like, yeah, it was like a whole lot of people. It was like a spectacle.
Yeah, but back in the anonymous days, it definitely was. And it is still a spectacle. You could totally call it that today. We have people joining protesters and live streamers in protesting Scientology as they're by or they're in the community there. Now we're going to pop over to Denmark, where Scientology up north is out there protesting with L. Ron Hub Cult. Often we've highlighted multiple videos of theirs, and they need some help out there. Denmark is different from the United States in what you're allowed to do in terms of video. And now they have the police telling them that they can't even speak to Scientologists. And I don't know what the laws are in Denmark where that's just like, oh, okay. But let's take a look at this clip and then we shall discuss.
I just wanted to go live for just a few minutes because basically the situation we have right now is that the police has said that we're not allowed to talk to any of the Sea Org members or approach any Scientologist. Hi. So guess what just happened? I'm walking on the biggest shopping street in Europe, which is very close to the Scientology location. And guess what? There's a tent up. There hasn't been a tent up for the whole time we've been filming videos. Now, police tells us last week that we're not allowed to talk to them and they want to get a restraining order on us. What's the first thing that happens? They have like a cafe van over there so people can get a latte and answer some questionnaires over there.
Yep. So first thing Scientology does is got those recruitment tables back out. So we're going to watch and see what happens here. But please do go over and subscribe and show them some support at Scientology up north and also L. Ron Hub Cult. They've both been out there in Denmark. They've had amazing conversations with Scientologists and Sea Org members. And they are getting through. They've made a pretty big impact on a couple people that are actually in Scientology. You can see it. So it's interesting how, things are different in Denmark than they are here in the US in terms of those rules, but please do go show them some love and support because now they're out there with the tables and police are saying you can't talk to them. Can you imagine? It's hard to imagine, or maybe hard to remember that things are different here in the United States with other countries in terms of what we're able to do and what they're able to do. In some ways, other countries are things I admire where I'm like, I wish it was like that here. And then other ways I'm like, I'm so glad it's not like that here. Truly indeed. All right, now let's go over to Los Angeles where Mindy Willens, Dan Walks LA, and I think it's Jen. She's more new to me. I do think, in fact, if somebody can say what let me see, do I have a video from her so we can share her link too? I don't know if I do, but I want to find out who that is and share her info as well. So let's take a look at this because guess what, people? Scientology implemented poop tech. Actually, I take that back. I don't know that Scientology implemented poop tech. Somebody implemented poop tech right where Dan and Mindy would be holding up this sign that they can't affix. They have to actually hold it up to show it. And they've been getting so much support for it. And then this. Take a look. Hold on a second. Hold on. I'm going to make sure I got the right video pulled up. It's gross, but she doesn't show it for too long or too directly. So I think we'll be okay.
So, do you have like, and I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Is there a 10-foot pole I can that I can use to like? Yeah, that's the only 10-foot pole you see. So you guys, just because you're not here, it smells like strong horrific.
That's right. Could use this. Yeah. I mean, it goes in the sand anyway.
Really, like it's poop. They put real, like I didn't want to. I was gonna show you just to like, but I don't want to do that to you guys. That's rude of me to do to you guys. Believe me, it's poop. Believe me, it's poop. And
They did not let the poop tech stop them. And remember, Celebrity Center, Scientology went and put poop all around it like a moat. It was like this giant poop moat that they made, and it kept nobody away. It was so weird. So weird. You would think Scientology is weird. Yeah, it is. Scientology is weird. Let's take a look. They were out there again, like I said, with the banner. And here's a short from Mindy.
there'll be planters there.
Right? No doubt.
OS is going to get a permit to shut down the highway.
Could you imagine? What did it say?
Oh, that Scientology abuses children.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
This is crazy.
Every honk for us is a honk against Scientology.
That's right. See that?
We can do this in any city.
The whole city is on our side. Hasbro. Quoting Chris, quoting Mini Streets, quoting Streets.
Love that. They've been having, like I said, a lot of support with the banner and getting the word out. And she's right. You can do that in any city. Check the rules, check the laws in your area. Do not break the law, but check it out. I thought that was fantastic. I love that they did that and just kept on keeping on despite the poop. Despite the poop tech, they just didn't let it stop them. And what is Scientology's fascination with poop and manure? I don't know. Mostly, I think they see it as a deterrent. It is so strange. I got to tell you, though. Okay, little side story I'm going to tell you real quick. So gather around, my friends, because I was about to say there's nothing really with Scientology and poop. And then I remembered something I did as a Scientologist with poop. When one of my kids used to sneak out as a teenager, what I would do is I would collect the dog poop from the yard and I would pile it underneath her bedroom window. So when she and her friends would jump out that window to go meet whoever and get up to whatever shenanigans they were doing, they would land in the poop. Then at a minimum, whoever they're going off to meet, they might smell like poop. She never knew. She thought the dog just pooped under her window, but I did tell her years later. And now, she's an adult. That daughter, she's like, in her early 30s. And now we actually laugh about it. But yeah, maybe it is a thing. I don't know. I can't remember being told in Scientology to weaponize poop, but I did. So I don't know. Maybe there's something to that. That might be something that I just have to explore. Okay, let's take a look now at another clip from Mindy Willens where she's going by a Scientology building. And what do? Run away. Run away. You got to watch really close because she gets up, turns around, and then runs to the back.
Wow.
Leisurely walks, I guess. That was not a run. But it is interesting because most of the Sea Org members do leave as soon as they see the camera. It's like kryptonite, right? Camera. And they take off. Because they cannot be videotaped or photographed. Because what will happen? People will start looking for them. There might be family members that they haven't seen that are like, hey, that's my cousin. That's my neighbor. That's my daughter. That's my parent. That's my grandparent, my uncle, my aunt, whatever it is. And then they might start asking questions and reach out to that person. So Scientology has to put a stop to that by not letting the Sea Org members be photographed or videoed. Asen, good point. I'm sure you are saving the planet by hiding and running away. Confront and Shatter Suppression is the name of a course that they actually do. Pretty much every Scientologist has to do this course. Confront and Shatter Suppression. I did it. I think I might even have done it twice because they make you do it multiple times. And I just missed the part where if somebody brings a camera, that you got to run away. I missed that part. Maybe they added it since I left. I'm not sure because I've not actually seen it since. Pink Skies, mahalo and hip hip hooray to you. Thank you for becoming a member of the channel. I truly appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. That's right, Capricious Caroline. Save the planet with poop. It's just crazy. All right, let's go over now to L. Ron Hubbard Way and Confident Chris, who took a look at some preparations being done for the 4th of July today, which is so ironic to have Scientology celebrating the independence of a country, breaking free, right? Doing something to have your own freedom. And meantime, Scientology Sea Org members can't just leave and go to the store, can't decide, you know what, I kind of want to take a me day today. I need a mental health break. It actually really makes me laugh to think that, because it's so like not going to happen. You know what I mean? That it's just so not going to happen. So let's go ahead and take a look at that from Confident Chris. See how they're prepping for the big holiday.
Our handler, he can straight up tell. These people ate, and so did I. A parade? We're basically setting up for our big event tomorrow. You know how we do the whole 4th of July here. At our non-registered cult yet. Require that notification.
Now watch this. Watch this. This is a Sea Org member who did not get the memo, right? Which is fabulous. He's not running away. He's just going along. Going along. Watch when he makes the turn, because he actually gives Chris a thumbs up. Watch. Boom. Thumbs up.
What the fuck?
Chris comments on it that he like actually gave him a thumbs up. It was so funny. I was like, what is he doing? But good. That's a good thing. I mean, let's be honest. If Sea Org members kind of greeted protesters and live streamers like, oh, hey, and honestly, some of them do. Some staff members in other areas, they recognize the protester and they actually have pleasant dialogue. That's more rare, but it happens. And I think Scientology, in fact, you know what? Hold on. We got to wake up also for this. Office of Special Affairs. May I have your attention for a moment? When you have Sea Org members run away rather than just maybe having a conversation, having them pulled into places, it really gives cult, like it gives cult in such a huge way. And if you just allowed them to communicate, or maybe let them do a few activities of their own choosing even, it might not be such a culty thing. It might not look so weird. There shouldn't be just one Sea Org member who walks down the street and just can confront. That guy looked comfortable. He saw Chris there with a camera. He gave him a thumbs up. I don't know what he thought was happening, but that's a more, inviting response, Scientology. So keep that in mind, my friends in the Office of Special Affairs. And as per usual, when you're ready to walk away from this and get freedom, which many of us are celebrating today here in the United States, you reach out and we will get you some help and get you out of there. So for now, though, you can go back and relax. Relax. We know they're not relaxing, though. We know they're not. They are very much overworked, underpaid, all the things. All the things. So even though in the Office of Special Affairs, the few remaining who are just doing their best to combat all of this exposure of Scientology on multiple platforms, on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, I mean, all over the place on social media. Just, you gotta try something different. But we know they won't, because you have to follow the dictates of L. Ron Hubbard. But I don't know, maybe change that now. Just because he said you can't alter and change things, does that mean you really shouldn't alter and change things? Do you do everything your parents told you, like every step of the way? You might have been indoctrinated into beliefs that weren't your own or didn't sit well with you. So we learn and we evolve, and we are allowed as humans to decide what we think about something. And that is something that Scientology doesn't understand. It's where they miss the boat, because it's about control and following the dictates of L. Ron Hubbard in order to gain spiritual freedom. It's so ironic. Spiritual freedom, yet you can't just go to the store in the Sea Org. You can't just take time off. You can't, everything is so controlled. You have to ask permission. Permission, people. Permission to get married. Permission to marry the person that you want to marry. It's a whole thing. Okay, let's go take a look now at Cubs champion 16, who is over in Boston protesting Scientology and had a couple words with, I don't know, code enforcement, I believe.
Why? The cops came out and they said it was all good. As long as they're
not their job, it's fine.
all right. So what's
You can't put signs on the poles, it's illegal.
On this one?
On any poles. Oh, I mean, I can take them down, but yeah, I called the police department and they said it was fine.
It's not their job. It's ours.
No, that's fine. Is there?
Is it-
Can
yeah.
you give me the code or show us the code?
Only if I give you a ticket, because then it'll print out on the code.
Oh, I'll just take
Is it
them
on the
down.
Mass Gen
No,
website?
it's under the City of Boston.
City.
It's a $300 ticket per pole.
Okay.
So they're being told they're in Boston that it's a $300 ticket per pole if you put up a sign. So they're not going to be doing that. Interestingly, though, here's the thing that's so weird. This blew my mind. They asked the police. They actually went and found out, hey, can we do this? Can we put signs on the poles? And they said yes. But then this code enforcement person said, no, you can't put up signs here. It's a $300 fine. I know that you were told that you could, but that's just not true. So good to know. So maybe when you're protesting ahead of time, check out the codes in the area. City Hall might be a resource for it. They should be able to look it up or direct you to it, or whatever the managing body is over code enforcement in your area. Find out what's up. Okay, Boston Auditor K says, my fine was up to $1,800. He let me go with no fine. Complaint is on my community page. Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing that. Thank you so much. Yeah, you got to check, because people don't always know. And sometimes it's not like they're intentionally lying. They're just misinformed. That's the thing. It's kind of shocking, actually, how people in certain positions, their jobs in the city and government and law enforcement, don't actually know what the rules are. Somebody says, oh, Scientology owns L. Ron Hubbard Way. And then those officers think, oh, Scientology owns L. Ron Hubbard Way, because that's what I was told. Just question it. That just sounds, how could they own a road that's a public street like that? That's just one example of that, but I think that you get the point. Now let's go over and take a look. Bridge 1872 is new to me as a live streamer protester, might not be new to you. She was out there with Windy City Thetan Watch in Chicago. And you guys know, I love it. I think you'd love it too, when they go and they take back the propaganda materials that a Scientology is handing out, just following behind them, eating them up like little Pac-Mans. So let's take a look at what she was doing. This is in Chicago.
Oh, they must know. Can I have that pamphlet from you that they gave? Did you get the Scientology pamphlet? This from the Scientologists?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cult. You want it?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
Thank you.
they're passing around their stuff, so be careful of them. Look them up. There's a lot of protesters now all over the whole United States.
So basically, they try to give me all the time. Like,
I know, it's crazy. I know. Well, because what they call people is red meat out here. Isn't that disgusting?
Yup, they actually call them raw meat. It's raw meat, which honestly I think is even worse. But they do. They call them raw meat, and they go, which is kind of, you think about it, right? Like, you're going to go out to promote your religion, to just, you want to get that and share the word. And then you refer to the people who could be future Scientologists as raw meat. Raw meat. Raw meat. So gross. It almost turns you off meat, except not meat, because I love barbecue. I do. And I love Spam. I think any kind of salty meat, pork, pulled pork. Okay, I'm digressing now. Can you tell I didn't eat breakfast? I need to get my hands on some barbecue today. All right, hold on. Let's see here. Now let's check out another clip. Hold on. This is also in Chicago. And let's see. Is this Windy City Thetan Watch? Let's take a look. I think it's both of them together. Hold on.
You must know. Can I have that pamphlet from you that they gave? Did you get the Scientology pamphlet?
Oh, wait, that's the one I just did. Okay, we got another clip. This is Windy City Thetan Watch in front of Scientology Chicago. Guess what? He speaks to a Scientologist who has been in Scientology for 50 years. That's 5 decades. So surely he is a pillar of the community and an awesome communicator.
You know it's a cult, right? Are you okay with human trafficking? Are you okay with child trafficking? They are. You want to see any information on it? Okay. I've read Dianetics. I've read Dianetics.
he did read Dianetics, and boy, does it throw them when you have actually studied some, if any, of the material of Scientology. Even Pearl Snappy, who protests in Austin, Pearl read Dianetics and I think Science or Survival. And she really, like, she's got the kind of mind and brain and background with statistics and all these things where she like sees the holes and the outpoints in it. I'm hoping that she does a video about that. I know she was going to at one point. I think it would be fascinating taking what she knows and what L. Ron Hubbard says and doing some type of evaluation, informative on that. I think it would be fantastic. So, let's see here. We're not done with this clip. There is a little bit more with Mr. I've been in Scientology for 50 years.
So you just said I haven't studied one thing. I have studied one thing. What do you know about it? Educate my audience. Okay. What are the gains that you've gotten from it? So the world is magical, is basically that statement, right? Yep. You know it's a cult, right?
Okay, so then I do believe there was another interaction when he comes back. Hold on. No, this was a different person, but also in Chicago. So that was somebody who had been in Scientology for like 5 decades. There is a clip that I might not have pulled up here, but in watching the video where that same man, Windy City Thetan Watch, says, hey, did you know Danny Masterson went to prison for essaying these women and they weren't allowed to report it? And the guy said that Danny Masterson was not guilty. I know. I was like, awkward. Yeah, he is. Even there's even been Scientologists who admit it. Like, yeah, because they know. Here's where I think you can tell the difference between somebody who's maybe very much a zealot in Scientology to maybe just a average Scientologist, right? One is a little bit more of a free thinker and can look and go, okay, Danny Masterson did what he did. He's a Scientologist. In any group or religion, there's going to be a certain percentage of that population that's going to be doing stuff like that. That's unfortunately what happens in, when you have enough people together. There's a percentage of people who are twisted like that. But then if you go the route of no Scientologist can do wrong, if you're a Scientologist, you can do no wrong. If you're a Scientologist, you have to believe another Scientologist. That is culty. If somebody is telling you, you need to believe what I'm saying, you should just evaluate the information. And that's something that doesn't happen in Scientology. They're only told, the protesters are being paid by big pharma. They're all being paid to be there. It's purely just about the money. It's to take away from the focus, which is what they're exposing, which is that it's a human trafficking cult, that you can't just come and go, that they don't let people openly communicate about Scientology. And that is a huge part of what makes it a cult, is not being able to look for yourself and find out. And that's what happens when you're a Scientologist. If I went into the org and I said, I was on the internet, I saw this video, it was talking about how the living conditions for Sea Org members are really bad and crappy, and I saw actual video of it. You are immediately going to have to do an interrogation of sorts, and you're going to have to do a handling, because why were you looking at something that was anti-Scientology? Well, it's informative. It's somebody else's experience in Scientology. Because as we walk through life, even if it's within the same organization or group, we walk through with different experiences. We all have a different experience. Doesn't mean my experience happened to somebody else or theirs happened to me, which is why it's so valuable to have so many voices coming forward and sharing their experiences in Scientology. Where are the voices coming out saying, besides through Scientology, independent voices who are singing the praises of Scientology? There's almost none, at least not on social media, which would be a great place to get the word out if that's what you really believed. So it's interesting to see that immediate cult mind control come in. And, if you don't accept what I say, then you're the a-hole. It's like, no, it's all right to evaluate the information and want to feel how you feel about it. And that's something Scientologists and people in cults are not allowed to do. You just have to see it this way, that the person where the information is coming from is the only source, like L. Ron Hubbard. Only source. He's literally called source in Scientology. get it from source is something that you hear in Scientology. Oh, I don't know what to do about my marriage. It's just not really going well. Well, what does source say about it? What does L. Ron Hubbard say about it? That's culty and creepy. Completely. You can't go to another Scientologist and go, you know, my marriage is kind of on the rock. So I think we're thinking of seeing a therapist. No, it has to be within Scientology because you're not allowed to color outside the lines. You're not allowed to do that. And you're definitely not allowed to have your own opinion about it and be honest about it. You might have your opinions about Scientology when you're in it. Most of us do and did. But you're not allowed to voice it if it's not in alignment with what the line is that Scientology is saying, with what their propaganda is. If you're speaking out against that, you were wrong, you're a criminal. So the Scientologists inside become too afraid to look because of the interrogations they're going to have to get at their own expense. And it just spirals until the point where the person gets to the point where they just can't take it anymore. And sometimes it's just one little thing that pushes them over the edge and they realize that, hey, I have no independence. I have no freedom. I would love, if it was so great, why don't we hear more about it outside of what Scientology themselves share, outside of what they craft together as members and success stories from their members? Because it's a cult. Spoiler alert, Scientology's a cult. Okay, now let's look at Chicago. Speaking of culty things, look at what happens to this guy who's having a conversation. He's new to Scientology, it seems. Watch this.
So
agreed.
That's, you know, saying that's my personal, just like you have your personal view, I have my
agreed
view, but I do not, you know, saying lend time or energy to things like this.
Okay, I'm just going to say that if you look here, these are people that have been criminalized by this cult.
I have seen the studies of things that have been, you know, like,
so you're okay with that?
So I'm not. No, it's not a matter.
You're not handling very well.
You can't put on
your
there,
TR7 is out.
You can't put on there what's supportive of that or what's good of that. You know.
But you know that you are supporting it. You know that you are that if you.
She looks so familiar. My ex-Scientology friends. She is almost the spitting image of a woman I knew in the Sea Org. She could be her daughter. I don't know if she is or not. It could just be a coincidence. I think her name was Willow, but I could totally be wrong. If anybody remembers from the ex-Sea Org community, hit me up in the chat and let me know. Doesn't she look like Willow? Did Willow have a daughter? It's crazy too how so many of us know each other because there's such a small world in Scientology. And yeah, I agree. Atkins in Texas, flight attendant vibes. All right, let's watch.
You put money in and that money goes to something poorly.
I told you that the people that created that thing right there were involved in that. Would you stop using that?
Correct. Yes, I would. I would find another I would find another way to do this. And again, they won't let you have your own thoughts. Isn't that a worrisome thing? Isn't that a worrisome thing?
Exactly. Let's pull him in there. Let's stop him from getting this information. Let's not let him listen. Let's not let him see Scientology in any other light. He's still new. We still need to cement his feet into the cult mentality so he's stuck there. And when he's stuck there, then we can show him more what we're about and convince him that's actually a good thing to be. Convince him that having those cement blocks around your feet is the way to be, that is freedom. And we know it's not. And you leave Scientology and you find out it's not. And Scientologists do believe that they are actually achieving spiritual freedom. And meanwhile, in life, they can't speak to who they want. They can't read anything they want. They can't watch anything that they want. They can't support people that they want or don't want to. If you are an enemy of Scientology in the eyes of Scientology, Scientologists cannot be part of your world. If you speak out or you question Scientology and you have a Scientologist who works for you, if they can't handle you to stop doing that, that Scientologist will have to leave. It's just the way that it is. That they're so limiting in what they're allowed to see, believe, who they choose to watch or support, all of that, because that is what a cult is. When someone's telling you this is the only way that it is, we are the only ones, in that context, that is very culty. And Scientology doesn't see that. They just continue and continue to do that, which is why they're shrinking. It's being estimated that there's maybe 25,000 Scientologists. We have 20,000 and odd change subs here. Soon we're going to have more than there are what we suspect of Scientologists. It's just crazy. Okay, let's go over now. This is also Windy City Thetan Watch, who is out there. Check this out.
Oh, the officer. Ma'am, that's Scientology. You just got a flyer from Scientology. Do you know that flyer? That hand, the thing in your hand? It's propaganda from Scientology.
You got to watch your face too when they get closer.
It's a cult. Do you want that?
Look, I was looking for the garbage. I got handed this and I was looking for the garbage.
I like to collect them because it really pisses them off that I get all of their flyers.
Oh, look.
I appreciate it. Excellent.
You have said it amongst other people.
That's funny. And the truth, most people know that Scientology is a cult, and the ones that don't, they find out. They find out quick. All right, let's take a look at, this is from Bridge 1872. Again, she's new to me, at least in the Chicago area, going and protesting out there with Windy City. Take a look.
Oh, Scientology. It's my time. You don't want that. They're Scientology. That's in the section. You want that? Yeah. If you want to read about it, here's where
The truth. Look on YouTube. Scientology, no good. All they do is take all your money. Yeah, they start with you saying that they're going to give you a class to make you better, like to improve you to like $50, and then it's thousands of dollars. And before you know it, you owe them hundreds of thousands of dollars. So,
oh, Scientology. It's my time. You don't want.
I just love it. It's so effective, and I love how he does it and how she's doing it too. This is fantastic. We got another. I want to show you guys. We haven't. Do you remember blind tech? How quickly they bring down the blinds when you're out there protesting? Well, there's a twist. They're using blind tech and cell phone tech. It's the weirdest thing. We've seen the weirdest things in Chicago. Can we just talk about that for a second? It's almost like Scientology decides to try out some new culty way of dealing with protesters, and they try it in Chicago to see what happens. Oh, let's do this, and then let's see what happens. This is kind of what this feels like. It's just the weirdest thing that they're doing. Like there's no way they're both on their cell phones. You got to watch this. This is from, and I apologize because I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, Yisrael, I believe is his name, but link down below to his channel so you can check it out and that you can check out the whole video as well. Let's see.
Down on me, guys. Too quick. She can't get it.
She's on the phone. She's on the phone. Neither of them seem to be saying something. So what do we think this tactic is? And you're going to get like a sore neck, girl. You got to get some ear pods or something like that so you don't have to hold your head like that. That might work when you're younger, but trust me, as you get older, you just don't bend like that.
You have to use this side to get the other side. It's over here. You see? I have to teach them how to put down their shades. Shade deck. So many people are walking out right now, like a lot of people.
It might have been when course was out or lunch or something like that, where there's more people out there. What were they doing? Was someone on the phone saying, here's how you put the blinds down? Can you see it? So in my fan fiction, I imagine it being like the Office of Special Affairs or the person who represents the Office of Special Affairs there in that org saying, okay, pull down the blind with one hand. Do not make eye contact. Just hold your phone like you're on it. Pretend you're on the phone so he doesn't talk to you. That doesn't work when you're indoors and there's a pane of glass between the two of you. At least they stopped the yawning, though. Do you guys remember the yawn tech? For a while, they would close the blinds and because L. Ron Hubbard said that if somebody is antagonistic or angry at you, which these protesters are not, that boredom on their emotional tone scale, these levels of emotional tones, will bring them up if you act bored or you're bored with them. So now I don't know what's up with being on the cell phone, but leave it to Chicago. That seems to be where this keeps happening. It really does. It's so weird. One of many things that is so weird. Let's go over to Salt Lake City, where Crazy Love is Love has been doing a great job out there protesting. She's got some really fun protest chants. Who doesn't love a good protest chant? What's so cool about this particular clip is people walking by, she gets to join in. You can get people to join. This is a fun thing to do. Protesting Scientology is becoming a tourist attraction in Hollywood and some other places as well.
I don't know what I've been told. Scientology is a cult. Possessions are not all free. Endangered child trafficking. Woo! And
How cool is that? That's so cool. That's just so neat to see. She's out there just doing a great job. I love, again, the chants. She had some really good points, too, that she was protesting with the other day. It was kind of cool because she had her stream going, and then Lara FM was on there, too, and kind of coaching her and giving her some ideas. And with Lara's background, growing up in Scientology and being in the Sea Org and then protesting, you really start to kind of, when you can put those two points of view together, which is why it's so great, I think, that there's protesters, ex-Scientologists, the First Amendment community, and others coming together, because it takes those different ways of seeing it. And she was really able to be helped and made an impact, too, with what she was doing with her protesting, and mentioned in one of her streams that there's somebody now who has dialogue with her who I think is from Scientology. So it does make a difference. There's many ways to reach people. That's right, Main House. Well, she's loud. No megaphone needed. Nope. She's got that enthusiasm, that power in her voice, and that was really cool to see. Now, I want to share a little video with you. Jenna Miscavige and I did a video, I think it was earlier this week, could have been last week, and we were looking at stuff from Tim Fletcher, who's here on YouTube. And he covers a lot that has to do with it. So much of it is applicable to leaving Scientology or other high control groups. And we're going to take a look at a clip that I found very interesting, because I feel like this is something that has come up for a lot of ex-Scientologists. So we are going to talk about that. Stasia Flonase, thank you so much for being a member for 2 months. Natalie, thank you for always being entertaining. The only news for me. Oh, I appreciate that. I got to make it entertaining for myself too, because this is like my favorite time of day. And after this, it kind of goes downhill, to be honest. Up and down, I should say. If you're new to my channel, I'm still working through. My partner passed away a few weeks ago, but this is something we love doing together. Oh, I had to bring that up. Now I want to cry. And I continue doing, because all of you are here, and if I'm being honest, it makes me feel close to him too. All right, just give me a minute, because I don't like to mix the recap with my personal tragedy. But it's true. It's true. My Tony loved protesting Scientology and this community. So it motivates me every day. All right, let's take a look at this video, and we are going to talk about it. I'd love to get your thoughts on this.
People from complex trauma create what they hate, or they create what they're trying to avoid, or they create the opposite of what they want to happen. And it happens all the time, and a common question is, why do I do that? So before I answer that, let me just kind of set the stage by painting this backdrop. People from complex trauma grow up in environments where there's lots of danger, or where their needs aren't met, or where there's many violations of love. So there's lying, there's abuse, there isn't justice. All of those things are happening. They hate that aspect of their childhood.
I was muted. For many of you growing up not in Scientology or living your lives not in Scientology, still have experienced different types of trauma. I think it's a lot of what we share and experience when we share our stories here. You're able to connect with that, and why people like me who grew up in Scientology, we're in the SEA organization, connect so much with all of you, because you guys just have this way of seeing and explaining this cult behavior and seeing it for what it is in a way that I know just has helped a ton. Amy says Yisrael is a survivor of the Flight 232 plane crash in 1989 in Sioux City, Iowa. Wow, that is interesting. He must have talked about that on a stream. I did not know that. That is really cool. I mean, that he survived. Wow. That's something. That is something. Let's see. Granny G, thank you so much for being a member for 4 months. That's so awesome. Thank you. Love you, Natalie. It's your party. Cry if you want to. I appreciate that. And I do spend a decent amount of the day working through it. But this is my break from it. This is my time to be with you guys. And, thank you, though. Thank you so much for supporting me and being understanding through this entire thing. Oh, wow. He was 9 years old. Wow. I didn't know that. Wow. Paige is saying, I was born with a brain injury and complex trauma comes to me through not having doctors know what was wrong with me. Very interesting. I can totally see that happening. And I'm fascinated by what Tim Fletcher talks about when he talks about complex trauma. I didn't understand what that was even till I started watching his videos. Let's see. I think there was a little bit more to this too. Let's take a look.
And they never want to see that happen in their life again. They want their needs met, etc. And so they start out with a determination, I'm never going to be abandoned again. I'm never going to be disrespected again. I'm never going to be lied to again. And then they move into adult life and they end up being abandoned again and disrespected again. And it happens over and over. So they create, without realizing it, the very environment that ends up creating what they've been trying to avoid, or the thing that they hate.
So fascinating. Just fascinating. So much of recovering from Scientology or other high control groups, in my mind, is learning tools to deal with life, learning tools to understand what you went through. I would hear all the time, oh, well, you need to process what happened. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? And I've been learning what that means. And thankfully, through things that we weren't allowed to do in Scientology, like therapy or studying other philosophies or learning about other religions, all of these things help. And the more we can find these tools and I think share them together as well, I think it's a great thing. My channel, Scientology, Life After a Cult, I like to talk about that part too. What has it been like after? What was the recovery like? What is it like? And how that relates to what so many of you are going through as well, that you come here to share, and the support that you have. It's incredible. So if I can't watch everything you guys might send me, but I definitely am open to it. If there's other people you follow on YouTube who there's things that would be helpful to bring into this community and share and talk about, I would love to do that. So reach out, Natalie at lifeafteraccult.com, and we can chat about that. And that's so cute. Please bop the thumbs up. Thank you. Thanks, Anne. That's such a cute reminder. Main House says, my channel has Tim Fletcher and many others, depending on the style you like. Cool. Thank you, Nancy, for sharing the email there. All right. I want to know. What are you guys doing today for the 4th? I'm hanging out at home. My daughter, I get to see my granddaughter today. Mina's coming over. You guys remember Shelby? She's been on the channel a couple of times sharing her story, and she wants to do that more. We just haven't been able to get schedules to work. But I think after we get through the celebration and the scattering of Tony's ashes, when I come back, I think I'm going to have her on again and be able to work that out. Because Shelby's been up to some really, really fun things. And her story is interesting because she grew up in Scientology and she was training to be a Scientology staff member. And she spent a lot of time in Florida and Clearwater, and she has a lot of insight and stuff to share about that. So we will definitely be doing that. In the meantime, everybody, I hope you all get out and have an amazing cult-free day.